Welcome to The Third Side with your host, John and Stacey Edwards from thirdsideparanormal.com. Hello and welcome to The Third Side. My name is John Edwards and I'm joined as always by my lovely wife Stacey.
Hello.
And today we've got, as always, something wonderful, something mysterious, something intriguing for all you guys out there. And you know what? Before I even shill our website and Facebook and all that good stuff, I want to address the witchy elephant in the room, if you will. As you can see, and as I've talked about in the past here about the studio, the studio that we are in, Aben Studios, is an active location, active paranormal location, where you never know what's going to happen when you're here. And as far as the studio and the grounds around the studio go, there's a high amount of magical goings on and paranormal that they want to be here. that Rick and Justin and everyone involved here, they want this to be here.
They like the weird.
And as you may find out on other videos, if you explore Aben Studios or in the future on this very show, you may find out more about just why that is and just how we roll with that, if you will.
Right.
This is interesting. This is really cool. And we always have different props that, those...
Yeah, I'm sure they noticed. There's different stuff on the table, and it all, believe it or not, has meaning. It all is something.
And normally, this stuff gets put in here without, even us noticing. We abduct pool boys on a weekly basis from random pools, and then we never see them again. They're easy. They're interchangeable.
I guess.
You have one, Manuel. You
I just
have
try to think about it.
This, all joking aside, is really groovy, as Justin would say. It's a witch box. You would call it like
well, I guess like Jewish people would call it a Dybbuk box, like in that movie.
Right, in the possession,
Yes.
It would call it a Dybbuk box. I just want to do the voice right now. Don't open the Dybbuk box! Yeah. But the cool thing, this one actually has a story. And so go ahead and, sit right back and enjoy a adult beverage while you listen to this. It came from a family of witches. And it's not a sitcom, but a family of witches, not Wiccans, in the 70s. So back in the wonderful time of great slasher flicks, this was rescued recently at a flea market in Jonesboro, Tennessee.
Yes. Isn't that where you always find the odd things?
At flea markets?
Yeah, just randomly at a flea market.
For people who have an eye for it,
I guess so.
Like our caretaker does.
He always finds the strangest stuff.
Well, he's supposed to find the strangest stuff.
I guess
so. But this was rescued from a flea market, and it was so interesting. It was, and we were shown it probably a year ago.
Yeah.
And, we're trying to make heads or tails of it. I'm sure Justin's been showing some pictures.
Yeah,
and
I think didn't he say that the people at the flea market had no idea what it was?
Right.
And they were trying to pry it open because there's a certain way it opens, and they didn't know how to do it.
Right.
And so Rick was like, I'll take that, and he brought it back, and I think he worked on it a bit and made sure it was working properly.
Now, here's the cool thing, okay? not that this wasn't cool enough just by seeing it and being around it. And I'll let you know, having it open here in front of us, there is an absolute feeling of weirdness. There's an eerie feeling just surrounding it, and the ambiance that comes from having this open. Obviously, we have some incense and some candles burning here.
I don't know if you can tell.
Just for the protection of us, and the protection of you guys, that we don't know how this stuff works, so it don't jump through the camera and, just because you're thinking about it or something. But it's some heavy stuff. It's definitely some heavy stuff. And it was used to capture spirits. And to keep the spirits inside the box. Now, the thing about it, in the home of free roaming spirits here, it's up to you guys. If anybody out there happens to know where the on switch is for this thing, give us a holler. And there's an email address on the screen right now, and just shout out to us. Let us know, and if you know how this thing works, or some more meanings behind it, or how to get the spirits out. Rick it's like a petting zoo around here. There's a little quarter thing of M&Ms that you can get and hand feed the spirits, and don't bring the children though. It's beautiful.
It is beautiful, and I'm sure Justin's showing pictures. You can't see the outside when it's closed up. It's just carved. It's so beautiful.
It's gorgeous.
And of course these boxes are separate, but they're all inside.
Right.
So it all fits together. It's very
it's
very unusual.
It's very unusual. So many things here are though. It's like the Museum of Oddities. And it's beyond belief, really. And it's a little breathtaking. We're used to it. It's kind of like being married to Stacey. After a while, I stop gasping when I wake up and look over.
Aww.
But
I hope that's a good thing.
But it still is beyond belief at the sheer elegance of it. So, with that said, we wanted to just start off a little bit different for
once.
With
a creepy thing.
Yeah, something creepy, something cool.
And there's always something new here when we come.
Yeah.
Every time we come, they're like, "Let me show you what I got now." And
always. And
I mean,
there's something cursed or something. There's possessed dolls. I mean,
something old.
Yeah, something being shot here on the ground that we can't even tell you about.
There's a lot more cursed things than I'd like to care to remember. It seems like every time we come in, it's like there's a cursed something, or here's
Would you like to have a cursed drink? Would you like to use the cursed potty? I mean,
I don't use the cursed potty.
I just used the cursed potty a while ago, and let me tell you, that was some shit.
You need a drum set.
Yeah, you know what? We need a little monkey over in the corner.
Okay, anyway, go ahead.
So with all that said, thirdsideparanormal.com. That's your address to go to find everything that you want to find about us, because you might want to find out stuff about us. Facebook.com/ThirdSide. Now that place, that's a cool, groovy place itself that has all kinds of links to stories and news stories and stories we may not use and stories about people and their moms. And Twitter @3SidePara. That's the number 3. SidePara. Subscribe to us on YouTube. If you're watching it right now, thank you so much. We really appreciate it. It's nice to meet you guys. On iTunes, go ahead and subscribe there too. That way you don't have to worry about, I wonder if John and Stacey went to the studio this week. You don't have to worry about it, because the thing is, we did, and you need it on your computer as soon as it happens, or your Apple, or your Apple. Got the Apple there, a little product placement. Thank you, Apple. We really appreciate the money. You and Bass Pro been keeping us afloat.
Yeah.
On your iPhone, your iPod, or your iDevice, what if you got iTunes and you listen to it? iTunes is amazing, and you can listen to some great podcasts, but none better than ours.
That's right.
So be sure to subscribe and leave us a nice note at the bottom. And that's about it on the shilling. And I think that it might be just about time for some paranormal news.
It's hard for us here to believe what we're reporting to you, but it does seem to be a fact.
If you're wondering why John is shaking his head right now, during the break it was pointed out to us that as we were talking about all the strange objects here and the cursed items here, our lovely producer has snuck an item on the table that we weren't aware of. And if you notice, there's a little coffin down there, a little coffin box. John's going to get it. If you're not watching the actual video, you'll have to go and look. But it's a little coffin box, and inside this little coffin box is one of Justin's favorite items here at the studio. It is, are you going to show them? Don't touch it. A cursed monkey paw. There you go. For all you horror movie fans. The cursed monkey paw.
A cursed monkey paw.
Yeah, well, we would show it to you closer, but neither one of us is going to touch it, so I'm sure there'll be a picture up for you.
And a little backstory on the monkey paw. I hate it. And Justin, our producer, has to put up with a lot from me. And, not as much as he does from Stacey, because she's kind of a diva. Only green M&Ms, that kind of stuff.
Filtered water,
Right, exactly. Okay, so he has to put up with a little bit from me. And I think my payback is when I say, that's a cursed monkey paw. Don't get it anywhere near me that it finds its way onto our table.
You're lucky it's not right in front of you.
I'm lucky that it's not scratching my butt right now. That's what I'm lucky about. This is paranormal news. And,
yes, news. Is that what we're doing? We do news on this show?
Yeah,
Are you sure?
Take two.
All right.
Wait.
Okay. So let's start by revisiting something we talked about on the last show.
Oh, yes.
And this is something that it was a story we did, and John kind of made a joke. I know it's hard to believe. We don't normally make jokes on the show. We're usually very serious, never any goofing off. But John did crack a little joke. And so now we're going to kind of revisit the story and sort of set the record straight, so to speak. This is the story about the mysterious black ring in the sky.
Right.
That was seen over Kazakhstan.
Kazakhstan.
Now, first, before we go into the Kazakhstan thing, let me just go over the black ring, how odd this is, because we didn't really touch on it the last time. But this isn't the first time that these black rings have been seen in the sky, and they really don't know how these are made. They can give all kinds of, it's weather related, or I think we saw something where someone said if you shoot off a cannon it'll make this black ring. But as I always say, just because you can recreate it doesn't mean that's how it was done.
Right, exactly.
But there are a couple stories, and that I'll put links up to. One is from last year. In April of last year, there was one of these rings that was captured by a 16-year-old girl over Warwick Castle, and it was a black ring in the sky, very similar to this one, and she videotaped it.
Exactly a year ago.
Yeah, it was exactly a year ago. And her and her mom were playing tennis, and they looked up and they saw it, and it didn't stay quite as long. It was only about 3 minutes that this one was in the sky, but they did get it on video. And it was very odd. There was no explanation for it. And then a year before that, in June, so not exactly a year, but close, there was one over Lake Zurich in Switzerland.
Right.
And those two I just found I just Googled black ring in the sky, and those two were on that first list of results along with the one in Kazakhstan.
Right.
So, I'm sure it's happened other times as well, but these were just the two that were fairly recent in the last couple of years.
If it happens at night, good luck.
Yeah, I don't guess you would see it.
No.
But I think even some people were trying to say, it's insects, or it's birds.
Insects and birds. But
that fly in a perfect circle for 15 minutes or something.
On one video that we watched, the guy made a good point. He's like, even if it was insects or birds,
that's pretty weird.
Still pretty weird.
Yeah, because they don't do that.
Wouldn't you think that's pretty weird for them to do that for that long, even if it was?
Right.
But in essence, it's not. It's not insects or birds.
No.
We don't know what it is. Rick here on the set said a UFO fart.
It could be.
Justin's incredibly intelligent, and so is Rick, and they come up with some. They come up with theories of their own.
I think UFO fart is one of the
they come up with
the best ones
theories
so
of their own. Justin gave this long explanation of a UFO taking off quickly and used his
his big words,
his $3 words and all that stuff, and the college dropout words, and had it all going good. And then Rick's 5 minutes later simplified matters.
Yes. layman's terms.
Yes.
UFO fart.
The UFO fart.
So having said all that, let's get back to the one that we saw over Kazakhstan. And last week, you mentioned that you made a little joke about Kazakhstan. I'll just let you explain.
All right. So every now and then, we humans become enlightened to new and wondrous things. And we realize our ignorance in the matters that things we might have said or done or actions we could have taken at another time in our lives. So Kazakhstan to me was people who may or may not be very fond of their goats. I was thinking more of a rural area where, you know, vaccinations aren't really a top priority. And
shepherds are around everywhere.
Yes, you know, schooling wasn't that much. The time clocks every day were by a sheepdog and a coyote, you know, watching over their flocks. And you're thinking about it, aren't you? And I just thought that Kazakhstan was pretty much like the movie Borat. And I kind of love the movie Borat because it's kind of ridiculous like me. And I made a mistake because we don't just stop when the story is done on the show. We continue and follow up on stories, and we're always researching, always looking into the UFO phenomenon, paranormal, cryptozoology, you name it, we're looking for it and watching it and watching others and reading theories and discussing amongst ourselves. That's our life. And when on one of the videos we were watching, Kazakhstan came up for another reason. And that reason would have been, oh, I don't know, some kind of pyramid, an illuminated pyramid of free worship, one worship, all religions together, great sun god.
Well, basically, it was talking about the capital city, Astana.
Astana.
Kazakhstan, and how it is exactly the opposite of what you would think.
Right.
Of what you thought. That
Well,
it's
what
very...
I thought.
It's newer. It's very
it's
modern.
Very, yeah.
It's beautiful.
It's badass.
Yeah,
That's what it is.
Right. And they actually have a a very huge population there. Like the population has swelled up to 700,000 now, and it's very forward thinking and
I
just
like when populations swell up.
What you would think.
I just like the word swell in general.
So anyway, John is just trying to say he was wrong about what he thought, and unfortunately, his mistake got caught on camera. Yes, but
yes. It was caught on camera, and but hey, when I make a mistake, you know, I like to come out and say, "Holy crap! Never knew Kazakhstan was like that." Not to say they're not fond of goats, but they do have internet, and that's
probably better internet than we have.
Probably better internet than, the Illuminati has nice internet.
Honestly, it is beautiful, and a lot of the buildings are just like architectural dreams. I mean, they're just beautiful, and it's definitely, I would like to visit there someday just to see.
I think I'll hold off.
You think you're going to hold off for
just
a while?
Just for a little while. I believe I'm going to go to the great continent of Australia and pet some saber-toothed bunnies.
Of course.
That I don't kill with fire.
Yes.
So.
Don't kill with fire. Of course, you'll kill them with fire. So anyway. So that was just a little update to that story, a little expansion.
A little expansion.
Yeah.
Did you find anything else about the black rings? Nothing at all?
No, nobody still has any idea how they're formed. They don't, of course everybody has theories, but there's no definite.
Yeah, we don't care about their theories, though. I want cold, hard facts, people.
Hey, watch it.
Sorry.
There's fire on the table.
We might kill us with fire.
Don't be banging. Yes.
All right.
So anyway, still no actual explanation. Of course, it's been happening for years, and nobody has an explanation.
Yeah.
So, I think some of the explanations are pretty funny, though. You're like, factories are just blowing smoke rings, and I don't know, just silly things. So anyway, let's move on. Here's another update. We're going to update about the Dawn mission to Ceres.
Yeah.
Where they're sent the spacecraft because of the bright spots that are on the surface.
Yes.
And I think the last time we talked about this, Dawn was actually in orbit, had already made it there, but it hadn't gotten down close enough to start doing its studying. It's not actually supposed to be...
remind them why it was such a big deal, what it looked like on the way in.
Well, they noticed on Ceres, they noticed some very bright spots, and they had no idea what they were. They speculated that maybe that's ice or some other, but
It looks like city lights.
but reflecting, a lot of reflecting surfaces, and they have no idea what they are.
Right.
And so they decided that they were going to use this Dawn spacecraft to send it over there, and it's actually going to be there until like June of next year, like June of 2016, doing its studying. And what it's doing right now is it's currently descending towards the surface to start doing its intensive science phase, and it's supposed to make it there on April 23rd. So it hasn't, as you know, the time that we're talking about this.
So it got there on April 23rd.
Right. But I don't have anything, they haven't released anything about that yet. But all I did want to say about it was that they did, on the way in, they've been doing infrared mapping of the surface, and that it's really heavily cratered, but it's actually not got as big a craters as they thought it was going to have. But that they can still see the bright spots. And there's several different 10 bright regions. Now, see, before there was just a couple.
Yeah, that's all we
And
can
now
see.
that they've gotten closer, there's about 10 of them.
Wow.
And they figured out that different bright regions behave differently from each other. Like, they're not all exactly the same. And they still, even though they're that close, they still have no idea what they are. And so they've kind of mapped them. They know where they are.
I mean, there's no clue what.
No, it says that the origins of their bright spots remain unknown. And, you know, it says that the brightest pair is located in a crater that's 57 miles wide, but they still don't have good enough resolution images yet. Now that it's getting down on the surface, hopefully they'll start. I'm curious what they're going to come out and say that it is. Like, I hope they don't just go, oh, it's ice and it's reflecting whatever. I don't know.
All right.
But I thought it was strange that they already were there. They were that close. They've started imaging it.
All
and
right,
they still
from
don't know
miles
what it is.
away.
Right.
Miles and miles and miles away, we can see the bright spots.
Right.
And
at least two of them. They saw two. Two of them were really bright.
Right.
Right.
You can see the bright spots. So we're really close. We're orbiting now. And they still can't tell us.
They still
bullcrap.
haven't told us yet.
No, I'm sorry. They would have told us something.
But they do know that there's 10 of those bright regions where they thought there were only a couple. So I don't know. It's getting strange. So I'm going to have to keep following it and see. I just think it's weird that they haven't actually come out and said. I mean, I wonder what they're doing. If they're just scrambling to figure out what they're going to say.
I don't know.
Or.
It's crazy.
So do you have a theory?
No.
Bright spots, you don't have a theory? Nothing?
No, I mean, it's the band Journey. I mean, Steve Perry and his nose, and it's reflected. I don't know.
I don't know either. I
mean, it's
very strange. It's like we talked before. It's strange that they saw it and that they immediately just sent that spaceship over. Like, it wasn't. Everything in NASA takes forever, you know. They take months to decide this and months to decide that. And this, it was like, oh, well, let's just send Dawn over there. And then it was done.
Right.
And they did it. So, I don't know. Very strange.
I guess we'll find out. Very cool.
Okay. Well, let's move on. This is sort of a UFO story. This is actually about a news article that came out in a news magazine called Mother Jones, where they were covering Hillary Clinton running for president. But they asked her office to respond on her stance on UFO disclosure because they wanted to include it in their article, because their article was entitled ETs for Hillary, Why UFO Activists Are Excited About Another Clinton Presidency.
Right.
So they actually...
the reason is Bill is really into the UFOs.
Right.
And one of the first things he did when he got in the office was to go try to find out, which he claims he never was able to find out. And you wouldn't let Bill... Out of all presidents, I probably wouldn't tell Bill my secrets. He doesn't have a good, you know...
He doesn't have a trusting face.
He doesn't have a good history with secrets, you know.
Right.
Yeah. I would love to hang out with him, but trust him with, you know, something we've been trying to hide for 50 years, probably not.
Right. Well, one thing I thought was interesting was that they did respond. Like, they didn't just say no comment. They did respond to the magazine, but they didn't. It was very vague. You know how they are. I think pretty much all they said was the truth is out there. Not, you know, they didn't say specifically what her stance is, but they pointed out how interesting it was that the man that's most likely to chair her campaign is John Podesta, And he also served as Bill Clinton's former chief of staff.
Yeah.
And recently he tweeted about UFOs.
Yes,
and
he did.
everybody saw that, about him saying that his biggest failure of 2014 was not securing disclosure of the UFO files. So you know that he is very interested in it.
Right.
And if he is part of her campaign, and if she gets elected part of her
Yeah,
staff, then
it's very exciting, and we'll be very excited until she gets the presidency and she doesn't tell us anything.
yes, exactly.
I mean, that's just how it works.
I mean, that I don't think that the president really has that kind of power.
I mean,
Honestly, I mean, they might know, but
I would say they get some sort of briefing in some sort of room with some sort of people.
probably
And they tell them some sort of information that they cannot share.
cannot share whatsoever.
Not at all.
I don't think if I was president, I would share it either. I would be worried.
No, I mean, if you want to tell us 100% disclosure, you want to let us know, me and Stacey, well, don't trust her. But you can
I
tell.
keep secrets better than him.
You could tell me. And, I mean, you know, just look. I mean, you could tell me. It's all right. Trust me. Just come to me and let me know.
Don't
And
trust.
I'll not say anything. In fact, I may change the direction of our show to go away from UFOs and, you know, altogether. And we could talk about sea bass instead. The whole show
Because
on
that's
sea
a
bass.
lot more interesting.
It could be.
I don't think I know enough about sea bass to do a whole show on it.
Well, you see, we need to learn.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Okay. So let's move on. This next story was one that I got from NBC News. And sad story, but a little odd at the same time. It's about a woman in Texas who was arrested for allegedly attempting to resurrect a dead child in their church.
Oh.
Yes.
Yeah, well, that sounds interesting.
What happened was, it was a Dallas area church, and there was a child, a 2-year-old child, and they actually did a ceremony to try and raise the child from the dead. It didn't work. Just want to throw that in there,
Oh.
just for anybody who was wondering.
Well, I mean, at least they tried.
I suppose. It was a church called Congregational Pueblo de Dios. I don't know how to say it because I don't speak Spanish.
Obviously.
But it's affiliated with the Hispanic Conference of the Congregational Holiness Church, which is Pentecostal. So I don't really know a lot about Pentecostals. I don't know if this is like
they wear like long ponchos.
I don't know. I don't know if this is something they do. I don't think this is something they do all the time. But pretty much the police got an anonymous tip from somebody that actually lived in the church. And
They lived in the church.
there was somebody that was living at the church, yes. And they called the police anonymously.
Do you think the Mexicans knew they lived at the church? Or do you think that they were like up in the pews or something?
I have no idea.
Just like, yeah, what's all
I'm
that
not
commotion
sure.
going on? Oh my God.
I'm not sure I would call in a tip anonymously, but then tell them I lived at the church, because I would think that would narrow it down pretty much, you know.
Well, you never know.
But anyway, they told the investigators that a rising ceremony was held on March 22nd to attempt to resurrect the victim from the dead, that the child died at the church like back in March, and
The child died at the church.
I think so. But then
Did the body ever leave the church?
Yes, when the ceremony failed, it says the child was wrapped in a blanket and, quote, taken back to Mexico.
All right, no, I mean,
Whatever
when
that
the
means.
child died,
Oh,
between the time the child died
and the ceremony?
and the ceremony.
No, it was like the next day.
Oh.
The child died, and then the next day they did the ceremony. Then it didn't work, and then they wrapped the child up in a blanket and took it back to Mexico, I guess. But the article they got a police search warrant request, but they said it was heavily redacted, so there was a lot of stuff I guess they didn't want people to know. I don't know what all that was, but very, very strange. I've never heard of a church doing something like that, even a Pentecostal church.
Well, I don't know. I mean, there's stank handlers, you know, there's a lot of kooky stuff go on behind closed doors.
They should have gone to like a voodoo person. Can't you do that? Isn't voodoo like necromancy?
I don't
voodoo?
think that's something you particularly want to do.
I don't think so either.
The fact that you can do it, or the fact that you should do it, is two separate things entirely.
They could have buried her in that cemetery behind the pet cemetery.
It's kind of like a love potion, okay?
Right.
I can do a love potion. I could sit here, take the knife, cut it, mix it with some tampons
You
or
know
something
how to
like
do a love potion?
I could do a love potion, but it's not exactly something that you particularly want to do.
No, especially if you've seen that movie, the Love Potion #9 movie.
And nobody's seen that movie except you.
I've seen that movie. I had to. I had Sandra
Sandra
Bullock.
Bullock, yeah.
Seen everything Sandra Bullock's ever been in.
Jesus Christ. Sandra, nobody's seen it. Just let Sandra Bullock go.
Yeah, okay.
Anyway, it's not something you want to do just because you can't do it.
You've seen it. I just want to point that out. You've seen it.
Because I live at your house.
That's not why.
Well, I mean,
Anyway.
Sandra Bullock's hot. And it was about potions. And, I mean, and I watched that while you were asleep. How did you even know? You weren't really asleep, were you?
No, of course not. Sandra Bullock was on TV.
You were laying in bed asleep.
I've seen that movie 100 times. I love
You're
that
a
movie.
creepy woman.
Yes, I know. So anyway,
Do you know the
interesting story.
crows come to the house when she walks outside? Every time. I can walk outside by myself, there's nothing except the crow that flies across the street and looks at me. Walk outside with the raven over here, and it's just like, yeah. She makes me buy 'em peanuts at the store.
They like peanuts.
They crack them open and dip them in water. It's the craziest thing ever. I'm just telling you who the real baddie one is. It's not me. It's not me. It just seems that way on TV. Continue.
Just out me on TV.
I just thought I should, yeah.
Okay, let's go to the next story. You're going to like this story. This is a good story. Okay, so this is a story from Thailand.
I don't know if you could top the dead baby story.
This is a story from Thailand. It's from a place called Ayutthaya.
It's called
Thailand,
what?
Ayutthaya. And I know that that's right because I Googled it, a pronunciation, and I listened to the little thing pronounce it like 100 times so I could say it.
Well, if you Googled it, it has to be true.
It has to be. I think the pronunciations are pretty accurate. Anyway, so there was a woman whose house was robbed. She was gone. She wasn't there.
In Utah?
Ayutthaya.
Utah.
Yeah, Thailand. We'll just say Thailand. How's
In
that?
Thailand.
Yeah.
Ah, I love
So
Thais.
she was gone visiting her niece, and when she
Thai
returned,
boxing's awesome.
she found out that there had been a burglary in her house. And the way she found out is when she went in, the thief piled a bunch of things together to take, but didn't actually take them. Like, they were all ready to be taken, but he didn't actually take them. And so when the police came, she told them that the reason that the burglar didn't take anything is because that her house is haunted by her dead husband, who is
Yeah.
very protective of his stuff,
Yeah.
even when he
Smack
was
that bitch
alive.
up.
And so she said that he protected her house and scared the thief away, and that's why he didn't actually take anything. I think he did get away with like a piece of jewelry or two, something, but not with the big pile of stuff that he had
Yeah.
put, in this
Well, can
pile
you
to
imagine?
take.
And we've talked about this before, like if somebody would ever try to break into our house. Can you
Providing they
imagine?
could get past the crows, right?
yeah, providing that. Can you imagine being in the house, you just got back from, letting your 3-year-old box another 3-year-old or whatever for money in the back corner, and you're what?
Nothing. Just continue.
Hey, they started Thai boxing really young. It's interesting. It just is.
Anyway,
and you came up to this place and you're like, hey, I would rob this house. There's nobody home. Can you imagine the feeling? I mean, that's some scary crap, man.
It is.
I mean, it's
It
just
is.
like, I wonder if he fully appeared to him, or if
who knows?
if it was a push.
I don't know. It had to be something because all he took was, it says all he ended up taking was a gold bracelet and a pair of gold earrings, which honestly he probably stuffed in his pocket. It's probably the only reason he got out of the house with them. Because he didn't pick anything else up. But I think it's interesting because it brings up something that we actually talk about all the time, is that how a lot of times spirits are just like they were when they were alive.
Yes.
And they're the same after they've passed.
Oh, yeah.
And she said that her husband, when he was alive, he bought lots of gold and other valuables for her and her family members, but that he was very thrifty and that he rarely left the house because he didn't want to leave his belongings because he didn't want them to be stolen.
Yeah,
so
you
here
see,
he
that's
is.
his curse, though, is he's stuck to those
Right,
belongings
and
now.
so he passed away 10 years ago, and she's convinced, he's still in the house with her, which is probably right, and that is the reason that that this man was not able to steal anything, because of
he
the
didn't want
guardian
his stuff to be
spirit.
gone.
Yeah.
And can you imagine trying to go out with that lady? Can you imagine, like, if he's that powerful and he's that connected?
I would just meet me out. Let's not go to your house. It's
Yeah,
fine.
it's okay.
It's
We
fine.
won't go inside. Here, just give me a peck on the right here. You go.
Right.
Yeah, my back seat's really comfortable.
It's really
I don't want to get around your dead husband. I'm sorry.
it's really funny. It says that the police are trying to identify and
I
track
guess
down
if
the
you were
burglar
going to have sex with her or something, you'd want to bring like a gold medallion, like some kind of token.
and leave it for him.
Yeah, just something shiny where he's like, you know, he's
I wonder at what point
distracted for, you know, 2 minutes.
At what point do you decide that she's not worth the gold anymore, though? You're like, I've given you like 100
I can tell you
gold.
exactly at what point, as soon as your 2 minutes are done. That for me, that's always the time that I figured out you weren't really worth it. As soon as I'm done with the 2 minutes.
Right. Okay. Anyway, so police are trying to identify and track down the burglar, and I'm really curious.
It's amazing how much your mind changes, actually.
I would like to know.
You're just like, yeah. Yeah, I'm going to have to go. I just remember that I was going to build that deck today. That, you know, for that church down the street, and
Orphans gotta go.
Yeah,
Gotta go.
it's been really cool. You give me a call, I'll call you, and thank you very much. Did you see my shoes? Did you see where I put my shoes? Okay, thank you so much. It's awesome night. Thank you. Bye.
Sounds like you've done that once or twice
No.
before.
No, you know, maybe once.
Anyway, I'd be curious when they found this burglar, if they ask him, you know, what happened. I would love to hear that story of what actually happened to scare him away
Yeah,
from
but he
taking
had to out
stuff.
himself as being the burglar.
Well, I mean, they're trying to track him down. I mean, he did
Right.
steal jewelry. There is a possibility they could catch him if he sells the jewelry or pawns it, or, you know, or whatever. There's a possibility the police could catch him. And if they did, I would be curious to hear.
Yeah.
Because if you're a burglar and you go through all the trouble to break into a house and pile all this, you know, really valuable
Right.
stuff up, I mean, what's it going to take to scare you enough not to grab something
Well,
after
I
you've
mean,
already?
it depends on how superstitious they are.
I suppose.
I mean, it could have been a creak on the stairs, and, you know, you never know.
You never know. But I thought that was a great story. I love that. And that woman should not be afraid of leaving her house, because apparently it's not going to be burgled.
Well, hopefully it was a good marriage. I mean,
I think so. I think
it's
so.
not something, I mean,
Well, I mean, she said that he used to buy gold and silver for her and her family members.
probably to make
I
up
mean,
for, like, you know.
don't know that.
You never know. I mean, how long
Sorry, I was mean to you. Here's some gold.
I'm sorry. After 10 years, if somebody's still buying you gold every day, then he's either got a secret gay relationship going on, or he beat you a lot. It's, you know, after that long, you're kind of like unified, and it's your gold's my gold, you know.
Gotcha. I'm going to be super suspicious of any presents you buy me now.
You should be.
Okay, I have one more story.
All right.
One more story. And I thought this one was just kind of a funny story that I actually shared this on our Facebook a while back. So it's pretty cool. This is from, I have no idea because I just had it and then I lost it. It's from the UK. It's it's from,
I was
it
just
comes from
kidding
a
about the
college.
gifts.
It comes from a college campus, okay?
I gave you a gift the other day. I was just kidding about the gifts. I don't want you to get all messed up. Okay.
It's fine, it's fine.
All right.
Okay, so this is from a college campus where they have some farm animals there that they take care of. And and all of the people that worked at this college thought that they were being haunted by ghosts. Like they had all these like animal pens and stuff in the barns, and they would go and they would turn all the lights off, and when they come back, the lights would be on. And they couldn't figure out what was going on. There was not electrical problems. I mean, they looked into everything. And so they finally just decided, we have a ghost.
Right.
You know, because these lights keep coming on and we know that we're turning them off.
Strange.
Right.
Right.
And so, and it was particularly happening in this one barn where they keep this really rare goat that they're trying to preserve because he's super rare.
Right.
The goat's name is Jake. Right. So,
Is it?
Yes. So they have him in this barn, and it's his barn. He's the only one that stays in there, and they could not figure out why the lights in his barn kept coming on.
Maybe somebody forgot to feed Jake.
And I don't know. So one day they were out in the barn, and they were closing up or whatever, and they turned the lights off, and they were leaving, and before they left, the lights came on.
Oh.
And they totally got freaked out and when they started to investigate, they realized that Jake was turning the lights on
Wow.
by himself, and they had no idea. Like,
Wow.
they never would have guessed that the goat would do that. And so they actually set up a camera, and then they turned the lights off, and they left, and then they caught him on camera, like, walking up and stepping up on this thing and putting his little nose over there and bumping the lights. I guess he just didn't like the dark.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't
Which
know.
in its own way could be a ghost thing.
It could be. You never know.
You never know what kind of stuff's happening to the poor goat.
I thought this was really funny because
it could be like a ghost of a Kazajstanian or something.
Well, I thought that this was
like,
really...
I'm turning the lights on right now. This is bad.
I thought this was really funny because how many people that, I mean, say the college called you, hey, we got this problem. Lights are coming on. We have no idea. We think there's a ghost, you know.
Right.
It's England. It's a college. There's probably a history of something.
Yeah.
And so, you know, the paranormal group goes and they're like, investigate. Who would have ever assumed that the goat was flipping a switch? Because you have to actually flip a switch. I think there's a lesson to be learned here.
Yeah.
You would have thought of it, wouldn't you?
Well, I mean, it's kind of, I have to look at that kind of stuff. I mean, if there's living, breathing anything, you have to kind of look at, yeah, it's cool. It's very cool. But the majority of people would jump to the other conclusion.
Right, jump straight to the ghost.
And not blame poor Jake.
Right. Yes, that's what I thought too. But I thought that was really funny.
So he's not like a fainting goat. He's not a screaming goat.
No, but
he's a light turning.
It says that he actually has to climb on his hay rack and he uses his horns to push the switch.
Do you think there's a lot of those? Goats are crazy.
I don't know.
Goats crack me up, but they're also so strange. When I see them like hanging off a vertical mountain, just to eat something. Have you ever seen those pictures where a goat's like basically?
Oh yeah, standing sideways.
Yeah,
like
no, not even sideways. Like basically their heads like forward, and they're eating on something. They defy gravity. And then you got the fainting goats, which are awesome.
I love
and
the
screaming goats, which I want to own one of each and put them in the same pen.
And make this one scream.
Yeah, so this one screams and this one faints, just in a continuous loop.
I love it. If you've never seen fainting goats, I hope Justin puts up a little video.
Well, no, I'm just saying.
Justin, put a little video of fainting goats.
Can you imagine how great that would be? Every time the goat wakes up and gets up, the other goat, and it's just like it faints. I mean, it's hours of entertainment. You want to make me happy if I'm ever a paraplegic or something. And I'm sitting there and I'm Stephen Hawking out and I've got a straw in my mouth and I'm just like, happy to look at the sunset every day. Please, for the love of God, put me 2 goats out there.
We could not own fainting goats because they would probably die because we'd just be out there with a cap gun or something, like making them faint every 5 seconds.
All I need to scream a goat and it'll take care of it. It will take care of it.
There you go.
You give me that and an orangutan to bring me drinks in a little butler suit. That would be awesome.
Of course, in a little butler suit.
Yeah, not the bottoms, just a little vest and
the bow tie.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Do you think he would actually bring you the drinks?
Yeah, my orangutan would.
So anyway, I thought this was a funny story. All the people that work there, it was a really big deal because they had been getting drilled about because they're really big on energy consumption. So they'd been getting interviewed over and over about who was leaving the lights on.
It'd be kind of like a ghost turning on a water faucet in California right now. So.
Yeah, something like that. So I don't know. I thought it was a cute story.
It's very cute.
So anyway, that is...
You had some pretty true paranormal stories this week.
Yes. Found some interesting stuff.
Yeah, sorry I ruined them all for you.
No, you make them more colorful and interesting.
That's what it is. It's the box. I blame the box this week. I've not felt right the whole time.
Blame the box. I think our incense ran out.
Yeah.
We should probably wrap it up.
Yeah. All right, that's it for the news. All right, well, this has been a strange episode.
It has.
One of the weirdest, if not the weirdest. I want you guys to know, I'm going to break the fourth wall a little bit. Just back behind you over there, here in the studio, some stuff started happening during during our break. We obviously take break segments. During this last break, everyone here in the studio, technicians, producer, Rick, Justin, everybody, was freaking out because something that never happened, and camera 2 here in front of me, which is my camera, started screwing up and messing up, and he went to the mid shot just because of it messing up, which it just don't do. And obviously we have, as we discussed, we have a box open, we have some other stuff going on. Justin almost went into like a trance-like type thing happening, which he is he does have gifts, and it was a very interesting time. And I mean, even during the episode, there was a lot of stuff going on that we were trying to play off and, continue on through. So just thought we would bring that up to you guys.
You happen to see some weirdness.
Yeah, this is a very interesting episode. Just remember, this episode because it was very bizarre. Very bizarre. With that said, thirdsideparanormal.com is your address to go find everything you can about the Third Side and Fainting Goats. Facebook.com/ThirdSide. That's going to have all your Fainting Goat specialty novelty shirts on it and plush dolls. Twitter at 3SidePara. That's the number 3. Side Para. Subscribe to us on YouTube, please. And on iTunes, please do the same thing. We really love and enjoy every letter, everything we get from you guys, all the interactions, all the ideas, all the suggestions. Thank you for bearing with us through one of the strangest episodes that we'll ever have.
Yes.
For my lovely wife, Stacey, my name's John Edwards. So long from the Third Side.
Good night.